Hello, I'm Larry Lorman. Glad you're with me. We are working our way through the book of Judges. Today we're going to add one more lesson on the discussion about Gideon. Gideon was a major judge, they have minor judges. Really, the difference is that Gideon gets lots of biblical text, and the minor judges may get 22 words. We had one of those, didn't we? One of those lessons. So, lesson 11. Uh, name of the lesson is Leadership Lessons of a Conqueror. Let's see, page. Gosh, page 93 in your curriculum. So the lessons about leadership. School of Hard Knocks. If you're a leader, you know what this lesson is about. Been there, done that. Judges 7:23 through 24 and 8:1 through 9. Gideon comes back from this spectacular victory. The job is not completely done, and he goes and recruits some more people to help him. At this slide, undoubtedly, the Lord green lighted him to go get some more guys and finish the job. And they start thinking about it, and it was like, why did you leave us out of this campaign from the beginning? And boy, they get on his case, and it's a fierce discussion. And you think everybody would be happy, but they're not. And so, leaders, sometimes we face fierce opposition, even when you do the right thing, even when you do what the Lord led you to do. There you go. Judges 7:23 through 24 and 8:1 through 9. Main idea of the lesson, what we're trying to talk about, try to get to as we teach this thing, and when we discuss it, is when God puts you in places of leadership and influence, there will always be opposition. Yep. As Christ followers, there will always be opposition from Satan, godless people, and critics. I inserted the word Christian critics, because Christians tend to do that. They shouldn't, but we do. But we can trust God to be with us and to be just. People may not be just and may not treat you right, but the Lord always will. I read through all those different points on page 93 in the curriculum, and I like the question to explore, and I like it sometimes. How do I handle criticism? Is it something that we handle well? Or we just blow up at the person who criticized us? Maybe they didn't say it the right way. Maybe they were not motivated in the right way. They were just mad and angry and trying to tear you down. But how do we handle it? What are some ways for me to grow in leadership within God's kingdom? You know, sometimes people come and they criticize you, and they act like, well, it's not personal. Well, guess what? It's personal to me. You know, if you take your job seriously and what you do and your work seriously, which there seems to be fewer people today doing, it is personal and it does hurt. But we should learn from criticism. I've tried to take a step back after I kind of chill out a little bit, and I've tried to take a step back and think about where they're coming from and at least hear them out. I may not agree with them, I may not change anything, but at least I heard them. And sometimes that's all people really want, is to be heard. And I need to listen and think about their perspective and maybe learn from them. Well, what can we learn from criticism? That's really how the lesson applies to us. So let's introduce the lesson, give you some things to think about. First thing I put on paper is Gideon finally finds some courage and goes after the Midianites. Seems like he turns on a dime once he hears those Midianite men talking among themselves in last week's lesson. And he finally finds his courage and goes. Good for him. Second thing is this lesson focuses upon the trials that leaders face. And we do face trials. Pray for your pastor. Pray for yourself because um, sometimes people aren't nice. And sometimes people just take the wind out of your sails. And we're big people and we deal with it. And we're not perfect, but it hurts sometimes. Third thing is Gideon has experienced a great victory, and now a few trials will come his way, which happens. It seems like these things always happen after you're on the mountaintop. Okay, you come back down to the valley, and they're waiting for you to gripe about something. Um, I've learned to try to not talk to Wesley about negative things on Sunday mornings before he's going to preach. Sometimes I can't help it, and he has to know something because I don't want him to get surprised by something. But try not to do that. And seems like difficulty comes after a mountaintop experience. So get ready, it's coming. Um, Fourth thing, to follow the Lord, you have to be willing to deal with criticisms and things not being ideal. And I think this goes for leaders. I think it goes for everybody. Things aren't ideal. Things aren't perfect. And where I'm coming from is I've seemed to notice in the younger generations as they look at church that when they see that the church is not a perfect place and it's not a perfect group of people, they tend to check out. They can't stomach the fact that the church itself is not ideal. It's not. It should be, but it's not. And so, what are you going to do about that? I've heard people say that, I love Jesus, but I don't like the church. And where they're coming from is the church is not everything that God created it to be. You know, if you read the New Testament, it's all about the church, and the church is the bride of Christ. And you can't love the groom and not love the bride. And the bride has issues. In fact, the Bible talks about the groom bathing and cleansing the bride. And so you're going to have to accept a bride that has some blemishes and has some issues. And so that's just how it is. But if Jesus can overlook these things and still love it in spite of the fact that it's not ideal, we should also. Well, um, last point I had in my introduction is you will see both the best and worst of people as we serve in the kingdom. You got to decide that you're going to focus on the best. Learn to take criticism. It's going to happen. If you're not being criticized, you're probably not doing anything. And so, don't go feel good about yourself if you're not being criticized. It means that you're not probably around people enough because people complain. They just do. God bless them. All right, let's go ahead and get into the passage. And our first passage, the book calls Calling on Others, and it's chapter 7, verse is 23 through 25. Normally I'm marking in my book, and I've been kind of stressed this week with a lot going on and hadn't marked it in my book. But here we go. And the men of Israel were called out from Naphtali and from Asher and from all Manasseh, and they pursued after Midian. So these are all tribes that are joining Gideon, and they're going after the enemy, and they're going to try to finish this job. Gideon sent messengers throughout all the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and capture the waters against them, as far as Beth Barah and also the Jordan." So all the men of Ephraim were called out, and they captured the waters as far as Beth Barah and also the Jordan. So they're pushing these people out of here. The enemy's on the run, and they're going after them. So Lord originally wanted 300 men involved to show that he's doing this, and these 300 men defeated these 100,000 troops. But now he's open to more, and more people are becoming involved in it. And one of these leadership lessons from this lesson is that it's good to involve as many people as you can. When we did the Beyond campaign here at church, there was a leadership team, but that leadership team branched out and invited lots of people. Most of the church was involved, and that's why it was successful. Yeah, the Lord used a miracle with those 300 men, but that was a rare thing to prove a point. Now he's trying to involve everyone in pushing them out and the enemy out and finishing the job. And so, it's interesting that at the beginning, the men of Ephraim joined in, and things seems to going well. They're pushing the enemy out, but I think that once they started experiencing success and they're together, things tend to have turned negative. And I'm sure that it started with just a handful of people, and then it kind of spread, and it's probably still just a handful of people. Sometimes people will come to us as church staff and say, "Well, everybody thinks this," and then we'll go, "Okay, who is everybody?" And normally it's just one person. That one person's everybody. No, it's not everybody. And they're entitled to their opinion. Well, this one person or this small group of people began to murmur. That's a good Old Testament word, isn't it? Moses experienced that. And now more and more people are becoming angry with Gideon because they weren't invited to be a part of this thing on the front side. Even though Gideon is doing exactly what the Lord wanted him to do, they don't agree. And so that's another point of the lesson. Sometimes you can do all the right things and people criticize you. So get ready. It's just part of human nature. Okay? And so let's look at the second section. It's chapter 8, 1 through 3. And things here become a little bit heated between Gideon and the Ephraim tribe. Now, one of the interesting things is in this section of Scripture, he's going to talk his way out of it. He's not going to push back against them. He's going to affirm them. He's going to say great things to them. He's going to sweet talk them, and they leave in peace with one another. Well, the next section that doesn't happen. So what's the difference? Why is he making peace with one group and not the other? And the curriculum made a pretty good point. It's part of the fact is that the first group from Ephraim, they're attacking him. They're not attacking his men. They're not hurting his men. They're attacking him. It's one thing for me to be criticized. It's another thing for all of my teachers and all our leaders and our people here at Ash Creek to be criticized. And so it's kind of like, it's one thing to talk about me or do something to hurt me, but you hurt my kids, we're going to have a problem, okay? And so that's a little bit of what's happening here. So let's read this. Verse 1. Then the men of Ephraim said to him, "This is what you have done to us, not to call us out when you went to fight against the Medians." They're like, "What you thinking, boy?" And they accused him fiercely. And he said to them, "What have I done now in comparison to you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the grape harvest of Abiezer? God has given into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeb." See, man, you've done so much better than me. What have I been able to do in comparison to you? Then their anger against him subdued when he said this. So he is stroking them a little bit. He's complimenting them a little bit. And people need that. And sometimes you can use that in the midst of an angry discussion to help settle them down, maybe give them some perspective. He doesn't go and attack them because he was attacked. And many times we want to do that. We want to attack back and defend ourselves. And really what he does, he just compliments them. He changes the discussion. He affirms them. And finally they settle down. That's a pretty good point. Well, in my notes I mentioned, man, these guys are really mad. If you go look, they accused him fiercely. In the old language, that is very strong words. So They're really mad at him. This is not just a casual discussion. They're mad. They're being fierce and they're being vocal right to his face. So this is a real confrontation. So it's a personal thing too. They're attacking him personally. Um, as I said before, it's always personal. They may act like it's not personal. It's personal with me. You attack me and criticize what I just did. It's personal. How else can it be? Um, I got to tell you too. If you're going to go and attack somebody, you better have your facts straight, and it better rise to the level of being a real problem. It shouldn't be just your opinion about something that could go either way and doesn't really matter. Okay? So if you're going to go stir the pot with a person, you better be right and it better be important. Otherwise, don't go there. Okay? Just a word of the wise. So Gideon redirects the conversation and compliments these men. And one thing that I was thinking, he had the ability at this point to just go wipe these turkeys out, call his troops over and say, deal with them. I don't want to hear it. But he didn't. Okay. Really didn't do that either way. Even with the next group that he stands up to, he doesn't go wipe them out. But he deals with the second group in a different way. Let's go ahead and read that. And that's in verses 4 through 9. And Gideon came to the Jordan and crossed over, he and the 300 men who were with him, exhausting yet pursuing. So, boy, they're loyal, aren't they? But they're getting wore out. They need some help at this point. So he said to the men of Succoth, please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are exhausted, and I'm pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. Several kings of Midian, you can see. These are like tribes. And the officials of Succoth said, are the hands of Zebah and Manuna already in your hands? Have you already caught these guys? Why are you asking for stuff? You haven't finished the job. Well, they ain't done anything. That we should give you bread to your army. You haven't done anything yet. So Gideon said, well, then, when the Lord has given Zebah and Zalmunna into my hands, I will flail your fresh flesh with thorns. See, he's dealing with them different. So I'm going to whip you with thorns when I come back. Thorns of the wilderness and with briars. So you're going to get it when I come back, brother. And from there he went up to Penuel and spoke to them in the same way, and the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered. And he said to the men, when I come again in peace, I will break down the tower, which was their defenses, okay? So he deals with his second group in a different way. Why? It's because they were indirectly attacking his men, not just him, okay? And that's the difference. They're asking for food. They're not asking for too much. These men have defeated the enemy that's been pestering these people for years, and they didn't personally go fight. These men did. Now they're asking for food just for nourishment to regain their strength, and they're denying that. The request that he's asking for is not outrageous either. Okay? This is a very reasonable request that they're turning down. They're just being a bunch of turkeys, what they're being. And this time, his response is different because of these being his men. Now, even in that, it's measured. Okay, he didn't just come and wipe them out like I'm going to come back and kill you. I looked at Succoth, and it's kind of Transjordan, but it's still in the tribe of Manasseh, their land allotment. It's almost like these people weren't even the people of Israel. And sometimes when you're dealing with people, you're going, okay, hello, if you've not been listening to the sermon here lately, we talk about this all the time at church. Why are you acting this way? Well, Gideon reacts in a different way towards them. And part of the point is we're going to face opposition. Don't let that destroy you when you get it. Okay, I've got 4 truths today. First thing is you can follow the Lord and do his will exactly and still be criticized. This was a little bit shocking to me as a young minister. It's like, what are you talking about? Why are you upset about that? I didn't do anything wrong. Um, you know, you're going to be criticized. It's just going to happen. So don't let it destroy you. Kind of expect it and learn from it and move on. Um, Second point is it is one thing to be attacked personally, another to be attacked on behalf of your people. And Gideon saw that second attack is different. He dealt with the first one. He just kind of sweet talked his way out of it, and they calmed down, and it all worked out. But this second group was not about him; it was about his men, and he treated that situation different. And I think sometimes we've got to deal with different circumstances in different ways, different attacks on our person or our people. Um, we shouldn't treat every crisis the same way because they're different. Third thing is we must function in an environment that isn't ideal. Church is not ideal. Shocking, isn't it? It's just not. Until Jesus comes back, it's not. These are people. They make mistakes. And so it's not ideal. Don't let that keep you from being faithful. I wish I could tell you how many people today aren't at church because things aren't just right. Well, good luck with that. Last thing is you must decide that you will focus on the good and not the negative. Don't let that destroy you as a person. Keep that negative over here. Don't ignore it, but don't focus on it. It will pull you down. It will dampen your spirit. Okay? Focus on the good things. Okay? Keep your focus on the good things, not the negative. Let me pray with you. Jesus, we love you. We love each other. Continue to bless us like only you can. I pray that nothing would separate us from the joy that you want us to have, even critical people within the body. We love you. We trust you. In your name I pray. Amen. You have a great week. It's been good being with you.